The Winters' mansion loomed before me, all limestone and pretension, exactly like my mother-in-law, Patricia. I parked my modest Honda Civic between her Mercedes G-Wagon and Victoria's Range Rover, already imagining their practiced sighs of disappointment. My phone buzzed. A message from Marcus, my COO. New sign installation starts in 20 minutes. Sure you don't want to reschedule this emergency family meeting? I smiled, typing back. Perfect timing. Let them have their moment. Another text flashed. My husband Michael. Mom's in rare form. Sorry about this, Alex. You don't have to come. But I did. After 3 years of their subtle jabs and not so subtle interventions, it was finally time. I checked my reflection in the rearview mirror. Simple blouse, no designer labels, minimal jewelry. Let them think we were struggling. It made what was coming so much sweeter. The front door opened before I could knock. Patricia Winters stood there, perfectly coiffed in channel, her disapproval radiating like expensive perfume. Alexandra, darling, you're late. By 2 minutes, Patricia. In business, timing is everything. She ushered me inside. Something Michael might want to consider in his career choices. The living room was staged like a corporate takeover. Robert Winters, my father-in-law, stood by the fireplace in his power pose, the same one he used in Forbes photo shoots. Victoria and her investment banker husband James lounged on the Italian leather sofa, matching Rolex watches glinting. Michael sat alone in an armchair, looking apologetic. Now that everyone's here, Patricia began, taking her throne-like chair. We need to discuss Michael's situation. Our situation, I corrected quietly. Yes, well. She waved her hand dismissively. 3 years since he left his position at Robert's firm to find himself in that little tech startup. Software development company, Michael interrupted. Whatever it is, Victoria chimed in, it's clearly not working. James says the tech sector is oversaturated. James nodded sagely. No room for new players without serious capital. What's your annual revenue again, Mike? Michael started to speak, but Robert cut him off. The point is, son, you had a future at Winters Capital. Executive track, corner office. Real stability. He emphasized real while glancing at my unbranded handbag. Instead, Patricia continued, you're working endless hours at some unknown company, living in that modest condo, driving those practical cars. She made practical sound like a disease. And Alexandra? Well, I raised an eyebrow. Well, darling, we know you're trying to support Michael's dream. She sipped her imported coffee. But surely you see it's time for a change. The country club membership has lapsed. No summer house this year. And those clothes, she gestured vaguely at my outfit. Victoria leaned forward, all false concern. My friend's boutique is having a sale. I could take you shopping. Their discount section is quite accessible. I checked my watch. The maintenance crew would be starting soon. We're here to help, Patricia pressed. Robert can make one call, get Michael back on track at the firm. There's no shame in admitting something isn't working. And what makes you think it's not working? I asked softly. James scoffed. Look around. No offense, but success has certain indicators. The right connections, proper appearances, social standing. Interesting perspective. I pulled out my phone as a notification popped up. Right on schedule. Alexandra, phones away during family discussions. Patricia chided. We're talking about your future here. Your lifestyle clearly shows. Our lifestyle shows exactly what we want it to show, I interrupted, standing up. Michael, honey, would you open the curtains? There's something they should see. Michael grinned, the first real smile I'd seen from him all afternoon, and walked to the floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking downtown. Outside, a massive crane was lifting the final piece of signage onto the gleaming 50-story building across the street. Patricia squinted at the movement. What are they doing to the Murphy Building? It's not the Murphy Building anymore. I watched as the last letter was secured in place. As of this morning, it's the Alexandra Winters Global Headquarters. The imported coffee cup slipped from Patricia's manicured fingers, shattering on the marble floor. But that's impossible, Victoria stammered. That building's worth $1.2 billion, I supplied. Though that's just the real estate. The company itself. I opened my investor relations app, closed at $14.3 billion market cap today. Robert stood so quickly, he knocked over his scotch. You're saying, I'm saying, I smiled, that maybe we should discuss what you consider indicators of success. But first, would anyone like to guess what Michael actually does at my little tech startup? The silence was deafening as the golden letters of my name caught the afternoon sun, casting shadows across their shocked faces. Finally, Patricia found her voice. But all this time, you've been Chief Technology Officer, Michael answered proudly, of my wife's company, the one you never bothered to ask about. I sat back down, smoothing my non-designer skirt. Now, about that emergency family meeting, shall we begin? The Waterford crystal scotch glass slipped from Robert's fingers, joining Patricia's coffee cup on the marble floor. No one moved to clean up either mess. 14 billion? James whispered, his investment banker facade cracking. He pulled out his phone, fingers trembling as he Googled frantically. Victoria peered over his shoulder, her perfect blonde highlights quivering. Oh my God. Oh my God. Alexandra Winters, Forbes 40 under 40. Leading women in tech. Market disruptor of the year. But you drive a Honda, Patricia said weakly, as if this detail somehow negated everything else. It's a good car, I replied. Reliable, practical, environmentally conscious, like all smart investments should be. I turned to James. Speaking of investments, how's that tech fund you started last year performing? He paled. Now he remembered. 3 months ago, he'd pitched his revolutionary investment strategy to my company's venture capital division. I'd been in the room, sitting quietly in the back, watching him stumble through his presentation. That was your company. He swallowed hard. When they said the CEO would review, I did review it. Personally, I smiled. Your numbers were inflated. Your market analysis was outdated, and your tech understanding was. What did you call my husband's work? Cute? Michael squeezed my hand, trying not to laugh. Robert finally found his voice. But all these years, at family dinners, holidays, you mean when you seated us at the young professionals' table? Michael asked. Away from the real business discussions, a notification pinged on my phone. Marcus again. CNBC wants a statement about the headquarters unveiling. Also, Bloomberg's running the merger announcement in 10 minutes. Patricia caught the word merger as she peered at my screen. What merger? Oh, right. I straightened in my chair. That's actually why I chose today for the sign installation. We're acquiring Winters Capital's largest competitor. Robert's face went from pale to purple. Hamilton and Reed? But they're not for sale. I've been trying to partner with them for decades. They weren't for sale, I corrected, until I showed them our new blockchain integration platform. The same one Michael's been developing while you thought he was finding himself. Victoria's perfect makeup couldn't hide her confusion. But at Christmas, you were asking about my charity auction, about how to get involved in higher society. Market research, Michael explained. Your charity's digital payment system was outdated. We're launching a new nonprofit division next quarter. Thought we'd start with modernizing local organizations first. James started swaying. Local organizations? Wait, is that why the country club changed its membership software last month? Beta testing, I nodded. They gave us quite a discount on the lifetime membership fees in exchange. Not that we needed it. The room fell silent again as another notification lit up my phone. The Bloomberg article was live. I turned my tablet around, displaying the headline. Tech giant Alexandra Winters Global acquires Hamilton and Reed in $4.2 billion deal. Robert stumbled back into his chair. 4.2 billion. Would anyone like to see the real numbers? I opened our investor dashboard. Since you're all so concerned about our financial stability. Patricia raised her hand to stop me, her tennis bracelet jangling. I don't understand. If you had all this success, why keep it secret? Why let us think? Let you think what, Patricia? I leaned forward. That we were struggling? That your son made a mistake? That I wasn't good enough for the Winters family name? We never said. You said it every time you forgot to invite us to your corporate galas. Every time you asked Michael when he was getting a real job. Every time you suggested I shop at outlet stores or apply for positions at Robert's firm because family takes care of family. Victoria shifted uncomfortably. But your condo, it's so small. Our condo, Michael corrected, is the perfect size for us. We also own the building, and the one next to it, and most of the tech corridor downtown. The tech corridor? James looked like he might faint. But that's worth more than the annual GDP of several small countries, I finished. Would you like to discuss market capitalization now, James? Since you're such an expert on the tech sector? My phone buzzed again. Marcus, stocks up 12% on merger news. Board wants to move the quarterly meeting up to tomorrow. Also, ET wants to film the new headquarters for their billionaire offices segment. Robert cleared his throat. Alexandra, about what I said regarding Michael's career choices, and what you said about my little company at Thanksgiving, I added, or at New Year's when you explained hostile takeovers to me, because women should understand business basics. He tugged at his collar. I may have underestimated. May have? Michael stood up. Dad, you've spent 3 years telling me I was throwing my life away, that I was letting down the family name, that I needed to man up and join your firm. But son, if you just told us? Told you what? That I'm the CTO of a Fortune 500 company? That my wife's a tech visionary? Would you have believed us? Or would you have called it another pipe dream like you did when I showed you our initial business plan? Patricia dabbed at her eyes, careful not to smudge her makeup. We were just worried about your future. No, I said quietly. You were worried about appearances, about status, about what the country club crowd would think. My phone lit up with another message. I smiled as I read it. Speaking of appearances, I stood up, smoothing my practical skirt. I have a board meeting to prepare for. But before I go, I turned to Victoria. About that boutique sale? I actually bought the whole chain last week. Feel free to use my family discount. I hear the outlet section is quite accessible. The look on her face was worth every second of the last 3 years. Michael? I held out my hand. Ready to go run our little startup? He grinned, taking my hand. Lead the way, CEO. We left them there, surrounded by broken crystal and shattered assumptions, while outside, my name gleamed in the sunlight, 50 stories high. Sometimes success doesn't need to be announced. Sometimes it just needs to be revealed. And timing, as Patricia always said, is everything. The next morning, I sat in my corner office on the 50th floor, watching the sunrise glint off my name on the building across the street, directly visible from the Winters mansion. Marcus had arranged the sign placement perfectly. Your mother-in-law's called 6 times since 7 a.m., my executive assistant Sarah informed me, bringing in my morning coffee. Your sister-in-law's in the lobby, insisting she has a family right to come up. And Mr. Winters Sr. is trying to reach you through LinkedIn, email, and your board members. I took a sip of my coffee. Actual imported Italian roast, not the pretend luxury blend Patricia served. And James? Sarah smirked, tried to schedule a meeting to discuss investment opportunities. Through 5 different channels. How's his tech fund doing this morning? She pulled up the market data. Down 15% after news broke that Alexandra Winters Global rejected their partnership proposal. Apparently, some of his bigger clients are questioning his market insight. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. Dad's waiting in my office. Says he won't leave until we talk. Your 9 a.m. is here, Sarah announced. The ET film crew for the Billionaire Offices segment. I straightened my Armani blazer. No more hiding in practical clothes. Send them in. And Sarah? Make sure Victoria can see the filming from the lobby. The next hour was a carefully choreographed display of success. The camera crew filmed my private elevator, the biometric security systems, the floor-to-ceiling windows offering panoramic city views. They lingered on the original Picasso in my conference room, the one Victoria had once lectured me about, explaining investment art to the uninitiated. Ms. Winters, the host asked, your company's rise has been described as meteoric, yet you've maintained an incredibly low profile until now. Why the change? I smiled, thinking of Patricia's broken coffee cup. Sometimes success speaks for itself. We let our innovation do the talking. And the new headquarters? The timing of the reveal with the Hamilton and Reed acquisition? Perfect timing is both an art and a science. I gestured to the building across the street. Speaking of which, right on cue, the maintenance crew began installing the digital display board below my name. Live stock prices, company achievements, and market rankings scrolled past in brilliant LED clarity, directly visible from the Winters breakfast room. My phone buzzed again. Michael, Dad's still here. Mom's now in the lobby with Victoria. Should I have security? No, I texted back. Send them to the main conference room. Time for a family meeting, our style. After the ET crew finished, I took the private elevator to the 48th floor. Through the glass walls, I could see them all waiting. Robert pacing, Patricia perched nervously on a designer chair, Victoria pretending not to stare at the view. Michael stood as I entered, fighting a grin. We'd rehearsed this moment. Welcome to our little startup, I said, activating the smart glass walls. They turned opaque, giving us privacy. I believe you wanted to discuss business. Robert stepped forward. Alexandra, about Hamilton and Reed. The acquisition? It's done. The contracts were signed last night, but I've been courting them for years. He ran a hand through his silver hair. We could have partnered, combined families. Like you combined families when you excluded us from business discussions, Michael asked. Or when you told me I was betraying our legacy by joining Alex's company. Patricia stood, smoothing her Gucci dress. Darling, we didn't know. If you just told us, like you told me about the country club board position that unfortunately went to Victoria instead. I pressed a button, bringing up our company financials on the wall screen. Or about the family investment opportunity you gave to James, but didn't mention to us. Victoria flinched at the numbers displayed. Our quarterly earnings exceeded Winters Capital's annual revenue. That's more than Daddy's company makes in 5 years, she whispered. 10, actually. I sat at the head of the conference table, my company, my rules. Now about that emergency family meeting. Robert's face flushed. Alexandra, we can explain. No need. I pulled up another screen. But since we're all here, let me explain something. Your firm's digital infrastructure is outdated. Your market approach is stagnant. And your biggest competitor is now my subsidiary. Patricia gasped. Subsidiary? Welcome to modern business, Patricia. Would you like to discuss timing now? The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Through the windows, my name continued to shine, a brilliant reminder of everything they'd underestimated. What do you want? Robert finally asked. I smiled, thinking of all their family dinners, all their subtle dismissals, all their condescending advice. Want? I'm offering you something, a chance to join the future, to be part of what Michael and I have built. I slid a tablet across the table. Your company's digital transformation proposal. Michael's been working on it for months. Victoria leaned forward. You're buying Daddy's company. No, Michael answered. We're offering to modernize it, to help it survive, because that's what family does. Right, Dad? They help each other. Robert picked up the tablet, his hands shaking slightly as he read. His eyes widened at the numbers. This would mean, he started. A complete restructuring, I finished. New technology, new approaches, new leadership. I paused meaningfully. New understanding of what success looks like. Patricia touched her strand of pearls, her nervous tell. And if we refuse? Then Hamilton and Reed's client list becomes very attractive to ambitious firms looking to expand. I shrugged. Timing, as you taught me, is everything. The silence stretched as they looked at each other, these people who dismissed us for so long, now sitting in my building, under my name, contemplating my offer. Well, I asked finally, shall we discuss the future? Or would you prefer to return to the country club and explain why Hamilton and Reed's new CEO doesn't accept your calls anymore? Robert cleared his throat. Where do we sign? I smiled, thinking of all those family meetings where they tried to plan our future. Welcome to Alexandra Winters Global. Let's talk about your career choices. 6 months after the emergency family meeting, I stood at the window of my office, watching the sunset paint the city skyline in shades of gold. The digital display on our headquarters now showed our latest achievement. Alexandra Winters Global reaches $20 billion market cap. My phone buzzed with a text from Michael. You'll never guess who's in the lobby again. I didn't need to guess. Patricia had been making weekly attempts to reach me, each one more elaborate than the last. Today's variation involved a Hermes handbag, the same one she'd once told me I might be able to afford someday, if I made better career choices. Mrs. Winters is insisting it's a peace offering, Sarah reported, entering with my afternoon reports. She's also brought a Wall Street Journal article about us. Apparently, we're their cover story. Tech's silent giant. How Alexandra Winters built an empire in secret. I smiled, remembering Patricia's coffee cup shattering on her marble floor. How's the Winters capital transition going? Sarah pulled up the metrics. Digital transformation is at 85%. Robert's actually following Michael's implementation schedule. And Victoria, let me guess, another investment proposal? 3, actually. Though she did finally stop adding Alexandra Winters' sister-in-law to her email signature. The elevator chimed, and Michael walked in, looking amused. Mom's gotten creative. She's telling everyone in the lobby about her visionary daughter-in-law and how she always saw your potential. I raised an eyebrow, like when she saw my potential at Christmas and suggested I take a basic coding class at the community college. To be fair, he laughed. She now tells everyone she was testing your humility. My phone lit up with another notification. Marcus, Forbes wants to do a family business feature. Interested? Before I could respond, Sarah announced, James is here too. Says he has a game-changing proposition. Still trying to save his tech fund? Michael asked. I pulled up the market data. James's fund had lost another 20% since our revelation. Turns out, his clients didn't appreciate learning their tech expert had failed to recognize one of the biggest players in the industry, even when she was sitting across the family dinner table. Should I send them up? Sarah asked. I considered the poetic justice. Patricia, who'd spent years orchestrating family meetings to discuss our situation, now waiting in my lobby. James, who'd mansplained tech trends to me at every holiday, now watching his fund collapse after missing the biggest trend of all. Conference room, I decided. The small one. 10 minutes later, I walked into the deliberately chosen space. The small conference room was still larger than Robert's entire office at Winters Capital, with better views and significantly more advanced technology. Patricia stood immediately, clutching her Hermes peace offering. Alexandra, darling, you look executive. Her eyes widened at my actual channel suit, not the outlet version she'd once recommended. James hung back, tugging at his collar. The wall screen behind him displayed our stock price, up another 3% today. Patricia, James. I sat at the head of the table. I believe you wanted to discuss business. Family, Patricia corrected quickly. We're here as family. Interesting distinction. Different from last year's emergency meeting? She flushed. About that, we may have been hasty in our judgments. Hasty? I pulled up our company's latest valuation on the wall screen. Is that what we're calling it? James stepped forward. Look, about what I said regarding tech sector expertise. You mean when you called Michael's coding work cute hobby programming? He swallowed hard. I have a proposal. My fund, with your name attached, is losing millions because you didn't do proper market research. I smiled. Speaking of research, how's that boutique chain doing, Patricia? The one Victoria said I should shop at? They filed for bankruptcy last month. I know. We bought them yesterday, planning to integrate their sales platform with our new retail technology division. I paused. The outlet section will be quite accessible. Patricia clutched her handbag tighter. Alexandra, we're trying to make amends. Are you? Or are you trying to salvage your social standing now that everyone knows who really controls the city's tech corridor? The door opened, and Michael entered with Robert. My father-in-law looked different now. Humbler, less commanding. Amazing what a few $1 billion could do to a person's posture. The Hamilton and Reed integration is exceeding projections, Robert reported, then added quietly, "You were right about the blockchain implementation. Like Michael tried to tell you 3 years ago." He nodded, looking at his son with new respect. I should have listened. Yes. I stood up, smoothing my designer skirt. No more hiding in practical clothes. You should have. You all should have. But you were too busy planning our futures to notice we'd already built one. Patricia stepped forward, offering the Hermes bag. We were wrong. About everything. Please, can we start over? I looked at the bag, the same model I had 3 of, in different colors, sitting unused in my closet. Status symbols meant something very different now. Start over? I pressed a button, and the wall screen filled with photos. Every dismissive family dinner, every condescending holiday gathering, every emergency meeting about our choices, or move forward? They stared at the evidence of their past behavior, documented in high-resolution clarity. Forward, Michael said firmly, but on our terms. I nodded. First term, no more emergency family meetings about our life choices. Second, Michael added, Dad steps down as CEO of Winters Capital. I'll oversee the digital transformation personally. Robert started to protest, then looked at the stock price display. Agreed. And finally, I turned to Patricia. No more helpful career advice. No more social engineering. No more trying to fix what was never broken. She placed the Hermes bag on the table, a surrender flag in designer leather. Anything else? I smiled, thinking of all the family dinners to come, all the holiday gatherings where things would be very different. Yes, I picked up my tablet. I believe you have some experience planning charity galas? Our new foundation needs an event coordinator, someone who understands timing. Patricia's eyes widened at the opportunity and the implicit challenge. Welcome to the family business, I said, the real one. Outside, my name continued to shine over the city, but it wasn't about the sign anymore. It was about what it represented. Success built on our terms, victory earned in silence, and power revealed at exactly the right moment. Sometimes the best revenge isn't proving people wrong. It's letting them realize they never really knew you at all.